Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Administrative Committee meeting for July 13th, 2018. We're going to just start with the board member concerns. Do we have any board member concerns in the CC8?
No, I'm the only one here. Right.
No? Okay.
No concern.
And then also we're going to take 2 and 3, in-country travel and out-of-country travel. Do you have anything to report, Mr. Nastri?
We have nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Go ahead. Adjust the agenda this morning. We're going to do the interviews for the Martin Luther King and the Cesar Chavez contract out of order this morning, so we can get those people in and out. And then we'll take the rest of. Mr. Alatorre, would you like to this? I saw you working on your phone. I thought you'd like to come to the meeting.
Yes, sir, I will. I'm here. I'm multitasking.
I saw smoke coming from your phone, so I know it must have been a really hot call.
I wish.
Can we, you give us a background on this contract and then we'll start?
Yes, sir. So this item is to make a recommendation to the board for the Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez annual events that we have. This event in the past has been broken up and not put together, and what we're asking for is, rather than continue to break it up as 2 different contracts, we just work with one contractor and we solidify it under one contract. We have 3 firms that that you're going to be interviewing today. The first one is Evan Brooks and Associates. The other is Fruition Multimedia, and the last is the Lee Andrews Group. So if you like, we can bring them in. Start bringing the first group in, which is the Evan Brooks and Associates now, and we can start the interview process. Is that okay?
Okay.
Right, great.
If nobody has any further questions, we can bring them in and start talking to them. Okay, let's go.
Which one's going first? Which one?
All right, Dr. Burke, we have Evan Brooks Associates. Daniel Bartleson will be the project manager, as well as Christina Cardenas. And they will have 5 minutes to present their firm, and then we'll go into the questions and answers that was given to the committee members. Go ahead.
Okay.
Good morning to everyone, and thank you for having our team here to speak with you this morning. We're really excited about this opportunity. Wanted to just briefly introduce myself. My name is Daniel Bartleson, and I would be the project director for this opportunity. And with me today, Christina Cardenas, who would be our project manager, Blanche Grove, our assistant project manager, and Anna Parra, who would be our PR and communications manager for this effort. A little bit about Evan Brooks Associates. So we are a transportation planning firm, a strategic transportation planning. So when it comes to the goals of what AQMD is about, GHG reductions, air quality improvements, a lot of the projects that we do, the programs that we operate, the outreach events that we perform, those really align very well with the goals that AQMD holds near and dear. We've been around for 8 years. We have about 150 years of combined experience altogether. We've represented over 60 clients. All of those have been local government or quasi-government agencies. and over 300 projects that we have represented, not just the planning type projects, but certainly community outreach projects. Events that we have managed kind of range in size from dozens of folks to thousands of people. We have events, Blanche, for instance, has managed an event of nearly 15,000 people. We've worked with Metro on their Open Streets projects to bring folks out to active transportation type lifestyle, get a little bit of a multimodal shift, and we've had up to 7,000 people at those events. That's a really great way to get the community, away from their vehicles, get them introduced to ideas and opportunities that are beyond, their car and their traditional way of life. We also have had a lot of smaller events. We've worked with the city of Norwalk on a much more intimate level on a community congress that was a lot more tailored and specific to the community. It was a direct invite list as opposed to a very broad outreach getting folks present. We've done Environmental Awareness Day with the City of Baldwin Park, the Faith Leaders Health Summit, and the Rose Garden celebration at the Hargett House. Those are just to name a few. Certainly our proposal has an entire list of the outreach efforts that we've led. And again, those are quite significant. We'd be happy to answer questions. With that, I kind of want to close my opening and just open it up to the committee and hopefully answer any questions that you all may have.
I have no question.
You have a question?
Yes.
Dr. Parker.
What strategically do you do to market the event to various different communities and various different interest groups to make sure that the people that we're trying to communicate with and want to be there have an opportunity to participate?
That's a good question. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to Christina Cardenas, as she's managed a lot of the events specifically for Evan Brooks Associates.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Just with regards to our kind of fundamental planning process for kind of engaging community, we really start with the community. On all the projects we manage, we start with the Community Advisory Committee as a fundamental component of community planning to not only develop content and inform the public about the event, but to really allow the community to lead the planning with regards to the event. We host meetings through with communications with staff, we're able to kind of gather information on stakeholders, local organizations that would have a stake in providing kind of grassroots planning for the forum itself. As an example, we've completed these Open Streets events in which we start with kind of looking at how do we embed and showcase local talent, local entertainers, local entities doing work in the community. For the case of this particular event, we would look at stakeholders doing things with relation to air quality, bringing them to the forefront of the planning of the forum. So that allows us to not only gather information, local information for the event itself, but to inform various groups so that the marketing, the information that around the event is well communicated with various groups, whether it be faith-based, local groups, environmental groups, school-centered programs, school community, as well as other groups that have potentially been part of your previous events that had a stake in those events.
And certainly there's something to be said with using existing lists that may come from previous events that you've already done, but certainly there's means of going beyond that, taking an event and working with the AQMD to understand, is this a small and again targeted invite list, or is this a broader spectrum where we really want to reach out to not just specific communities, but to the Southern California region at large. And so we do have a lot of experience working with social media, working with other programmatic opportunities, local transit agencies, for instance, Metro, to be able to get the word out about the events.
And I'd like to turn up to Blanche. We're going to talk to you, kind of walk you through kind of the marketing components for the events that we've planned, just kind of from start to finish in terms of the marketing.
Hi, thank you. So I've planned several large events, community events with thousands of people for our Independence fireworks show, and I've done much smaller events with 300 people for special needs programming and advocating and things like that. We have mailers that we put together and keep these databases. We send them reminder emails. We create a relationship with our constituents and our partners, and we do our regular flyers, and we send email blasts with those, and we use lots of social media, Instagram, Facebook, all this stuff to just keep our network of people into our project and sending them reminders and just creating that community within the programs that we're creating. I do bus posters. We've looked at different ways to advertise, so street banners on key points throughout our community to get people to attend our programs so that it's fresh in their mind. We've done bus advertising with posters in the buses. That seems to work really well for us, as well as we looked into marketing and putting posters outside the buses. So we use some of that creative ways of marketing.
And then also just tapping into kind of local resources such as newsletters, local paper. Anna Parra, communications director, will speak to kind of the media component, but really embedding into all facets of the community, such as local access channel, local paper, newsletters, sending a mailer out with like electrical bills. So really kind of just all facets that could reach our target population.
In addition
Very
to all
good.
of those collateral, we also leverage postings. If it's a call to the general public to attend, then we also post on any calendar, online calendar resources we can, so that folks who check in with networking organizations, regular postings or event calendars, they'll be able to see information about the event there as well.
Thank you. That's very good.
And then just lastly, in terms of...
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Finish.
we wanted to be cognizant of your
And
time,
just,
so.
and just in addition to that layer, in terms of technology, the creation of event websites, and as was mentioned, the social media components and the boosting of the event to not only inform the public, but to boost the RSVP page. We've for large scale events such as Open Streets, we've noticed that the boosting, investing dollars into social media boosting has been very successful. Has allowed us to track RSVPs and to really be able to remind people that possibly indicated that they're interested, allowed to stay in communication with them with event aspects, programming, performances, so that they could then click eventually attending to track that.
The gentleman sitting right behind you is our representative to Google. And so that's him. That's him. So do you do anything with Google?
I mean, we haven't specifically done anything with Google, but certainly we would welcome the opportunity to do so. A lot of the social media platforms that are out there, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, excuse me, Snapchat, all those, we do a lot of boosting through those, as Christina mentioned. We haven't specifically partnered with Google, but certainly we are well aware of Google metrics, and we do a lot of targeting and with our own website for our own company, for instance, we like to kind of see where things land with respect to our hits and the searches and the parameters. So that's very important information to be able to utilize.
I think it would. Is the 18,000 person event you do the fireworks show?
Yeah, the largest one is the fireworks show with the city of Norwalk, correct?
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very, very good presentation. Very good presentation. Any questions by any of my other colleagues?
I have a couple, Dr. Burke.
Okay.
I noticed from your presentation that your experience has been largely focused on local agencies, local cities, and there's one, your Heart Walk, is a number of different cities that combine. Our event is not focused on a local agency, it's a broader, more regional scale. And so I'm wondering how you would approach that. That would be a different approach in outreach and marketing than what you do with a local agency. Could you kind of explain
That's a really good question. And a lot of the events that we've managed on behalf of Metro for their open streets, they may be targeted to a specific community. For instance, the cities of El Monte and South El Monte, or the city of San Fernando. So those events are held within a specific locale. However, Metro loves to see a much broader reach to their projects. They encourage strongly that a lot of outsiders attend. And to that end, we actually see usually about 60% of attendees that attend these events are actually coming from outside of that area. So when you have about 40% of the representatives coming from your local community, that's excellent. But that's 60% of the attendees of 7,000 people attending from outside of that area. We have a very broad reach. And for instance, open streets and ciclovías, they're well followed by a very large community. So it tends to be the type of event where a lot of people want to come regardless of where it's being held. And so, you know, the fact that your events are known, the fact that AQMD is known, the fact that we can utilize the resources to reach out beyond just the borders of whether it's Diamond Bar or Los Angeles County or wherever it may be, certainly those resources are available, and we're well versed with reaching beyond that. I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think for Open Street in particular, we've been able to expand our scope and kind of our strategy for regional outreach. There's a few strategies we've employed with Open Streets, and one of those being we do regional marketing via Facebook, via boosting. We do literally marketing like regionally, so posters go out to adjacent cities. We attend city council meetings within adjacent cities to promote events. We've also been able to advertise at local libraries in regional cities. So the outreach has been with neighboring cities. I think with Open Streets, the goal is to provide spaces for open streets and open access. And so cities being able to attend one event and see they did it and be able to share kind of the sharing of that concept. We've been able to do kickoffs where we invite not only the mayors of the host cities, but mayors of surrounding regional cities to be able to share kind of the idea of, you know, improving air quality through active mobility, active transportation, and kind of being able to message around that and kind of in the same regard to these types of events where you're allowing people to come around and discuss issues that affect social justice as it relates to air quality, and be able to spread and inspire not only local entities that are hosting the event, but inspire regional entities that may attend the event. And at our kickoff, we acknowledge, you know, who is attending from regionally, and acknowledge kind of that this isn't just it's happening in one city, but the aim is to encourage as many cities to promote active transportation, to mobility, and improve air quality.
And then in regards to the attendees, knowing that these events are a very great interest to cycling enthusiasts specifically, we'll target cycling enthusiasts where they get their information. We'll network with bike repair shops and local bike shops to have posters in their stores. We'll network with cycling groups like the Los Angeles County Bike Coalition to promote the event through their membership. And we'll do that not only within LA County, but we've reached out to the surrounding counties as well. And we've had folks come as far as from Lake Arrowhead to attend some of these events because the information got out to them through a specific communications channel.
And then just the last aspect we wanted to share, for this particular forum, we envision live streaming for the forum itself. We understand that families have various commitments such as kids, and other commitments may inhibit them from attending. So the idea of live streaming the forum so that people from a regional base could participate, could possibly ask questions. We at all our events, we do live tweeting, so people that couldn't attend the forum can also be kind of engage with some of the ideas, some of the quotes, some of the messages that were shared at the forum, could also partake and be part of it virtually. So that's another component we have done at previous events. Anna mentioned the Faith Leader Summit. We did a lot of live tweeting and then live streaming so that people could attend regionally.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce you to Mayor Ben Benoit, who has just joined us, who is our technical whiz on the board. So he when you talk about tweeting and texting and the social networking, he is the one we look to for guidance in those areas. So,
Happy to be here. My apologies for running late.
oh, no problem. I know the traffic out there is a monster. Okay, well, you went well over the 5 minutes, but I think it was well worth it. So, thank you very much for coming.
All right, thank
And
you.
we'll let you know how it turns out.
All right, thank you, everybody.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go out that door.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everybody.
Bye-bye.
So Dr. Burke, the next group that's going to be coming in is Fruition Multimedia, Diana McCaskill and Richard McCaskill. We'll bring them in.
Did we have words already go?
Okay,
It's going in alphabetical order.
got it. It's also still order, right?
If it happened that way, we just did based on alphabetical order.
You're right.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
So Dr. Burke, I'd like to introduce Fruition Multimedia. Again, this is Diana McCaskill and Richard McCaskill.
Good morning.
So as we mentioned, I mentioned earlier when I went in to talk to you, we have two governing board members, Mayor Benoit, Vice Mayor Judy Mitchell, and two of our governing board members on the screen there. You'll have 5 minutes to give your presentation on your firm, and then they'll go to questions.
Okay, great. Good morning. I'm Diana McCaskill. This is Richard McCaskill of Fruition Consulting. Thank you for having us here today. We are in the business of increasing our clients' visibility by executing dynamic events. On average, we save our clients 30% in expenses. We have provided these benefits to RG & Associates, who's based out of Oakland and New York, National Association of Investment Companies out of DC, and most recently, the San Diego County, where we are planning a community event for 1,200 people. Like most companies in our space, we likely have similar services, but there are two core competencies that provide the most value to our customers. The first is leveraging our connections in the hospitality industry that allows us to secure discounted rates for our clients. The second is utilizing technology to streamline the event planning and communication process for our clients, support team, and partners. With over 20 years experience, a dynamic team, and our technical approach, we have planned over 1,000 events with as many as 20,000 attendees and have had budget responsibilities up to $1.5 million. We could not have done this without two things. The first is our methodology. Our methodology is to really gather intel and develop a plan, negotiate favorable pricing terms and conditions for our clients, plan and coordinate the logistics down to the finest detail, execute but remain flexible to adopt timely mitigations to ensure our clients' objectives are achieved, and then evaluate, continuously improving the process. Our team members is the second thing that we do, and our team members have worked cohesively together for many years. And what makes our team so strong is that they are cross-trained to ensure there's always a backup. Finally, our voluntary participation in creating stakeholder engagement and educational processes for small community businesses with the California Air Resources Board gives us a unique understanding for your goal to not only celebrate the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Cesar Chavez, but to also educate the public on air quality and health.
Very good.
Any questions by my colleagues?
Well, I'll ask a question. Have you ever attended one of our events?
No, I have not.
Okay. Then I won't ask you. Well, have you, perhaps I'll ask this, maybe you have studied the kinds of events we do, and do you have any recommendations for changes to what we do? We basically do a large banquet for each of these Memorial Days, so.
Yes, I do actually have some recommendations. The first thing I thought is because it's a community event, I would have liked to see something more interactive so that you can really engage the community and get them not only involved in promoting the initiatives from the organization, but just to kind of showcase why it's important for air quality and how the two tie together with MLK and Cesar Chavez. To me, when you have a banquet set up, it's very formal and you kind of, just are restricted to your table of 10 and you don't really get to engage and get people really excited about or interested or educated about what you're trying to do. So I would do a little bit more of an interactive showcase so that they can get more information and not just a couple hours and then they're gone.
And the other thing is, this is more or less a regional event. We reach out to the whole region for people to come to this event. What kind of outreach would you be doing to get attendance?
Sure. For outreach, I think that we would reach out to various organizations, attend different events so that we can kind of recruit and see what people are doing and then also invite them to our event. We would reach out to the various chambers and all of the regional organizations that would benefit from attending. And I think really beyond email and trying to correspond, the face-to-face contact is really the best way to get people engaged and to get them interested and draw them in.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. No questions here?
I really enjoyed your chart. Your flow chart in your presentation. I thought that it was very, very interesting. The last group that was in talked about electronic communication and the use of the internet. How would you see that integrated into these programs?
Sure. In today's time, without social media, you really don't have an event. You have to promote, online. So we have Kate, who is a specialist in social media marketing. She would do outreach via Facebook, Twitter, as well as LinkedIn, promoting the event and kind of engaging people. I think the success of that is not just promoting the event, but giving education. And then the promotion is kind of more of a side note, maybe 15% of it is promoting the event, but the rest of it is really giving them information about air quality or about MLK and, fusing those two together. So we feel very confident in that. We also have another partner of ours, Tyler, who is an expert in marketing and has a wealth of ideas and is very excited about creating some imagery that motivates people, not just by words, but by pictures and getting them to see, what we want them to see.
Thank you very much. Very good presentation.
Thank you.
Is any question, Clark?
No.
Thank you very much, and we'll let you know how it turns out.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Dr. Burke, the next group that's gonna come in is the Lee Andrews group, and we'll bring him in just shortly. There. You stop right here, Steph.
What's his name? He was.
Carl over here. So Dr. Burke, this is the Lee Andrews group, Stephanie Graves, Alicia James, Ricardo Mendoza, Anna Flanagan Flores, and Soraya Sandiford. So you'll have,
Welcome.
Thank you.
you'll have 5 minutes to present the firm, and then we'll go to Q&A after that, okay?
Okay, we just had a little presentation.
Okay.
Is that going to be shown?
And there's the,
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chairman Burke and board members and everyone else. We are Leander's group, and we have been helping with the events since 2015, and we've really enjoyed it and had very successful events, and they keep growing and growing. We are also very familiar with South Coast AQMD's mission and the importance of these 2 air quality events and the importance of Dr. Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez. So here are the key principles that would be working on the project. And so I will hand it off to Alicia James, who would be the project manager and has been involved with South Coast AQMD events since 2015.
So as Stephanie stated, we have a proven record of producing notable events for the South Coast Air Quality Management District. We have produced the Cesar Chavez event since its inaugural event in 2015 and every year following. We also had the opportunity to produce the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service in 2018. We are very knowledgeable of the inner workings of South Coast AQMD, including their vendor preferences, vendor requirements, and also their staff. Our team is proposing to provide a range of services, including event management, outreach and communications, government relations, graphics, media, and social media management. We have developed a 4-pronged approach to planning and implementing both of these events. We will start by setting specific and measurable goals. From these goals, we will develop a comprehensive event plan. And with this plan, we will identify priorities and set deadlines. And finally, we will implement the plan and deliver results. So I would like to dive a little bit deeper into our approach and our services. We will work with the South Coast AQMD staff to develop messaging and branding that is reflective of South Coast AQMD's current initiatives. We will act as the liaison for South Coast AQMD and their partners, sponsors, program participants, and attendees. We will work with the South Coast AQMD to manage logistics, everything from decor to catering to audio visual. We will also manage registration and provide a day of support team. We have a media specialist, Paulina Velasco, who's not here today, but she will manage the media alerts and press releases. And finally, we will conduct weekly phone calls with the South Coast AQMD team, produce monthly reports, and produce a final report at the end of each event.
So our team has created a very strong and collaborative relationship with South Coast AQMD. We for the past few years, we have, under your guidance, have created very meaningful and successful events for all your target communities. We've developed a very effective event planning approach by initiating weekly check-in calls and assigning action items to all teams to make sure that we meet all pressing deadlines. By using this approach, it allows us to look even closer and pay even closer attention to detail, and also to ensure that all event logistics are ran in a very smooth and timely manner.
So as a strategic advisor with this project, we will all work collaboratively and ensure that our team is being efficient and effective with the South Coast Air Quality Management team, so that we anticipate and build up on some of the requests and the needs for both of these events as we've done so in the past.
So we would like to implement a collaborative process that has been proven to be successful in our work with South Coast AQMD in the past. Our principal in charge, Stephanie Graves, will be in communication with the executive team here. Our strategic advisor, Ricardo Mendoza, will assist with strategy development and government relations. And as project manager, I will maintain ongoing communication with the planning team at SCAQMD. And then also just ensuring that we are meeting our deadlines and progressing in our event planning. And then finally, again, we will conduct weekly meetings and strategy sessions.
Delivering a successful, engaging, and memorable event, both for the MLK and Cesar Chavez event, is our ultimate goal for South Coast Air Quality Management District. And we do this through a couple metrics. The first one is identifying the total number of registrants that we want for each one of the events, creating an engagement social media plan collaboratively with staff, and identifying how many returning attendees do we want for each one of the events, and then whether or not we want to identify new communities where we want to branch out so that more and more communities are aware of the efforts of South Coast Air Quality Management District to improve the air quality. And then ultimately, we want to see how satisfied, how memorable these events are for attendees so that they can then spread that information into their own networks. And then we'll finalize this process by having a debrief and identifying what worked very well and then how we can continuously improve in each one of these events that we help to coordinate for South Coast Air Quality Management District.
Very good.
So thank you, everyone, and we can answer any questions.
Chair, I do have a question.
I was just talking to Dr. Parker about, first, before I say what I was going to say, let me ask my colleagues if they have any comments.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. And so,
Okay.
Stephanie, you've been doing this for the district for a number of years, and I'm wondering, over those years of experience, are there some changes you would recommend to us to implement in, say, the next year?
I think every year we have grown more knowledgeable, and I think what is working better each time is to have more youth at these events. And we've seen how that has really not only their participation, but their education through the process on air quality and on Dr. Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez. So I would say more youth.
Then the other thing is, a couple of questions just about, operational. Vendor costs.
Yeah, I should.
That's always a big item, the vendor costs. And are there methods to reduce the vendor costs? I mean, what is your experience with that?
Let me let Alicia answer that.
So we have developed relationships with South Coast AQMD preferred vendors. They now have come to the point where they are our vendors for your senior events, for our environmental justice community partnership events. So they definitely knock off some of the costs. We've also looked at the possibility of including ads in our programs for them, in promoting them, letting them have a space to promote their business to come at a lower cost.
And then my third question is about venue, because we have done it at the Science Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we did it at the Proud Bird, and this is Martin Luther King, because I haven't been able to attend the Cesar Chavez, but I'm wondering about venue. Of course, it depends on what number of attendees you expect, but we always get a huge number of attendees at MLK event. And so I guess should we look for a venue that's bigger than that, or how should this be managed?
Well, for venue, it depends on what area the South Coast AQMD would like to be seen more in. So is there a targeted area that we want to spread awareness of air quality? Can we find a location in those nearby areas, convention centers, community centers?
So I think we can go larger, but I think it's when we work alongside you to find out where you want to be seen most.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Big enough.
That you went, Ms. Mitchell, you went right to the reason that we're bundling these contracts is last year, we ran into the problem of a venue. And that became a major issue as to where we were going to hold it. So I just discovered this morning that this is a one-year contract. My understanding that this was supposed to be a 3-year contract.
Dr. Burke, it's a 1-year.
Because, yes, 1 year with options.
Yes, sir.
I don't like that. I'd like to make this at least a couple years, if it's possible. If the lawyers say it's possible, at least a couple years, so that people can plan and get a venue in advance and those kind of things. Because last year, the event was amazing last year. I watched Judy Mitchell, and I didn't know she could dance like that. So, Martin would have been proud of you, Judy.
My reputation precedes. Okay.
Let me let everybody else finish, then I'm going to say what I got to say. Ben, have you got some comments?
I guess just a quick question, more on the technical side. Some other vendors may talk about streaming and other ways to get out social media wise. Do you guys do that as well? Have we done that in the past, or as far as streaming the event and getting other engagement online?
So we do have the option of doing a Facebook Live, and we also proposed last year to do interactive posting, having some of the social media posts come on the screen so that our audience is engaged, people at home are engaged. We also discussed possibly doing a landing page, a web page where we have everything from speakers to agenda to more information about AQMD programs and registration all in one place.
Okay. So. Very good.
I have a question. What have you found to be the most effective way to market? And the reason why I asked that, marketing itself is basically very different for music, for events, social type of events. We're looking for something of a very specific, in which, since you've been doing this now for 3 or 4 years, which one have you found to be the most effective for our particular events themselves, that we get the greatest bang for the buck?
Well, I know South Coast AQMD is dedicated to safeguarding the most vulnerable residents. So we have targeted a lot of those communities, but Alicia, if you want to speak directly to it.
I would also say that our student essay contest has become pretty major, and if we can get that across more schools this year, that would be great. And also introduce that to the Martin Luther King Jr. event. By doing these contests, these students are engaged, their parents are engaged, teachers are aware, and we're building partnerships amongst AQMD and these schools.
Well, I know that Stephanie has a relationship with a new superintendent of instruction, so if you get this contract, we should be able to make this a district-wide essay contest.
Okay.
You know, that would really be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So Dr. Burke, getting to your question.
Okay, here's what I had to say about this. When Donna Andrews passed away, I had no reason to believe that Donna Andrews and Associates would be anything, because the company was based on the force of Donna Andrews' personality. But I was wrong. Stephanie came in and took over, and I think has done just an unbelievable job. I could have never envisioned what she did. I was also opposed to them taking over the Martin Luther King event last year because I thought it should be a black group. I was wrong. She did an unbelievable job. I'm telling you, everybody who came that day, including Joe Lou, sang the praises of the event. So all I would suggest, if in fact my colleagues would agree, is a couple things. One, I think that we ought to do clips out of both the Cesar Chavez and the Martin Luther King event and get Mr. Atwood to put together a little video on each event separately and run it on his Google thing, okay? Because I think that takes it, that gives us added value to the one-day event, and seeing that we are in the community and that, you know, the people do respond and that there is an enormous turnout. My other suggestion is, as I said before, this should not be a one-year contract. And because it just, first of all, I don't want to sit through this every year, and I know you don't either. But in the planning purposes, it just ties our hands not to know that we can schedule a venue a year or two out. Because if you're really serious about doing events, that's what happens. That's what you do. Nobody is running out there 6 months or 3 months. And last year, we were just about 3 or 4 months before the event, and we still didn't have a venue. So as an ex-event planner myself, I know how that's not the way to do it. So I enjoyed your presentation. I don't know if you stole the chart from the last group or the last group stole it from you, but you guys had almost the same chart in there. And I really enjoy those charts like that. So I congratulate you on what you've done in the past. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
So Dr. Burke, with respect to your question about whether we could change it to make it a 3-year contract, we could do that. If that's what the board, if the committee decided they wanted to recommend, we could change the board letter that'll be going to the board in September to reflect that recommendation.
It's just my opinion, it's up to my colleagues. But let me tell you, from the event planner's standpoint, you can't get your hands tied. Like if we do a one-year contract, the Martin Luther King thing is in January. We're 7 months away from that, so it's not even a one-year contract. So, I would suggest that we consider that.
And I would agree with that. I know with the League of California Cities, you had to start a year out to plan your next convention, your next General Assembly. And it really does tie the hands of the event planner to have such short window. So I think that's a good idea.
No, I'd agree as well.
So I move that.
Second that motion.
I'll make that motion first.
Motion to extend it to a 3-year contract. We have a motion by Ms. Mitchell, a second by Dr. Parker. Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
So now the next item is selecting.
I'll start. We've had good success with Lee Andrews, and I would recommend continuing with them. They know the organization. They have a very diverse group of people working for them. And while the other two firms, I was concerned about EBA because their transportation is always, their focus has always been transportation, and it's very different kinds of events, I think, when you're doing transportation as opposed to what we are doing. I mean, there's going to be some complement there. And Next Fruition was kind of intriguing because they have the kinds of events they do are interesting. They have very large attendance, and they have special relationships with vendors, with hotels, with other places where these events take place, and get discounts for that. So that was kind of intriguing. But I still think the Andrews, their experience with us is really valuable. They've done a good job for us, and I would want to continue with them.
Go ahead.
Mayor?
Sorry. My thought would be the same. I obviously I came in a little late through Evan Brooks and Associates, but when I first sat down, I was listening to all these great things about a bicycle event, and I thought, well, I'm having one in my town next month. I started taking notes, but then when I realized what event we're talking about, I feel the same way you do. That maybe it was not the same track where we needed to go. And as the these interviews came in, I think the final one definitely is the one I would go with as well with the others. So, go ahead.
I was going to say that I think the Andrews group is certainly far outweighs any of the other two. However, we do have other events, such as our annual event that we're going to be having in a few months at the LA Hotel, etc. It may serve us best to basically look at some kind of way that we can have individuals like Fruition online to do those events, maybe not directly a direct contract, but being able to basically try out the shoe without having to basically get into bed with a long-term contract on individual ones, so that they can then feel, and we can basically get a little bit of a feel exactly for what they do. But I know we do have other events around that would give us the opportunity to do that. And I know that's not here before us today, but I thought with Mr. Alatorre and Mr. Nastri that I would certainly, as a member of this committee and of the board, recommend that we explore that option.
No, Clark and I didn't even talk about that, but I never even thought about the luncheon. But here's what I did think about. I never even thought about it until it came out of my mouth. Stephanie Graves and Austin Butner are like an apple cut in half. Now, we have been talking about doing a a program for the school kids for almost 10 months now. I think that we ought to look at talking to her about doing something and making it our school program exceeds Los Angeles County. It includes all the, but normally it ends up being mostly LA County kids that come. So I think that that's definitely something we should be talking to her about. Anyway.
Well, let me say something about that, because we recognize from our FM3 survey that people out there don't know us, they don't know what we do. And we've talked about launching a campaign of public awareness of the South Coast District and what we do as an air quality management agency. So, and I had discussions with Lisa Tanaka on our recent trip about a campaign that we should be doing with school children, because they take that home to their parents. And I think that Lee Andrews would be a good partner in that. We've talked about doing a campaign like for school kids, can you do one thing? And then list one thing they could do to improve air quality. And they take that home, or they to their parents. They do one thing this week, or there's just ways that we can spread the word and spread it through our young people. So I had this discussion with Lisa just yesterday, and I think that we should be thinking along those lines. And certainly LASD is a nice first step to bring them into the fold and work with our public awareness campaign.
So, Mr. Nastri, I think, when you have a minute, why don't you give her a call and see if she has some ideas, if we can do something like that.
I'm sure we can.
Oh, I know you have plenty of spare time on your hands.
Absolutely.
I noticed you emailed me at 3 o'clock the other morning. I said, Jesus Christ, where's this guy at in the world?
DC.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Mitchell, and we have a second by Dr. Parker to approve Lee Andrews Group for a 3-year contract to do the Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez event. Will the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Let's, did we have any public comments on this?
Oh,
that's great.
Probably not.
None here.
just a minute, I'll check with Paul. He said no comment. He said no comment. Okay.
I'm going to continue the roll.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Parker?
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Oh, you did?
Okay, now we go back to the regular agenda.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Dr. Burke? If I could have a
Yes.
second, it might be good to, since it seems like there might not be much, if any, public comment through all the items today, to just suggest that if somebody does have a public comment on an issue or on an item as we go through, to raise their hand so that we can see whether there's any public comment without having to ask.
All right. All right.
That's
Oh, okay.
Pass down.
Okay. Let's see, did we need to do 6 and 7? So, Jada?
We didn't do 4. Yeah, we didn't do 4. We did not do item 4. We should start with 4.
Oh, okay. We'll start at 4. Any questions on the September agenda?
So Dr. Burke, if I
Hearing
may,
none? Yes.
I was just going to point out that on the September agenda, we're going to be doing the public hearing for 1469. And again, that one has, we had the long set hearing for, so I just wanted to remind everybody.
Okay. Any other comments? Any public comment on 4? Okay, 5. Do we have any compensation for board assistants?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, then we're back to 6 and 7.
Dr. Burke, on item number 7, seeing that I just got back, I'd like to have the chance to review, so I'd like to pull item 7 and carry that to the next committee meeting.
Okay, then we're back to number 6.
Go ahead, Sujit.
Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee, good morning. This item is to request approval to release 2 RFPs. One is for janitorial services, and the other one is for audit services for our AB 2766 audit.
It says no motion required. What is it a motion?
Yeah, no motions required on this?
That's correct, Dr. Burke.
It says-
Consideration.
Sounds good.
So we're just
Receiving file.
notifying the world?
Yes,
Is there
that's
any
right.
comment from the public on this?
Nope.
Hearing none, seeing none. We're moving. And number 7 has been pulled. Thank you very much for guidance.
Thank you, Dr. Burke.
Okay, number 8. Ron, you're up to bat.
Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. Ron Moskowitz, ADO for Information Management. Things are going very well for IM as we completed 9 milestones for our eGIS project. We had a schedule, including the Open Data Portal, which allows public to access and download GIS data directly from our website. We are on schedule to complete the final 6 milestones for GIS. Our new mobile application for the iPhone will be completed and ready for testing in about 5 weeks. And staff did a stellar job developing and supporting the new request to speak application as we successfully went live at the last board meeting. So not only did we have the application up and running, but we had staff out in front with iPad kiosks helping the public. So I just want to commend my staff for that. Our other projects are going, they're moving right along, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
On the app, Mr. Chair, if I may? On the
Yes.
app, when it's ready to go to beta testing, I'd love to have access ahead of time. I can take a look at it and see how it's going.
You got it. Yes.
And I would like to pass along to the members of your staff my congratulations on the card thing. I can't tell you what a difference that makes. And I guess I appreciate it most of all because for 26 or 27 years, I've been trying to read everybody's handwriting and Ben and Clark know that it's impossible sometimes. You just can't do it. But now it's all typed out. It's neat. It's legible. It's a major, major improvement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, would you like to go on to item number 9?
Sure. Good morning again. This is a standard annual item for purchasing license, maintenance, and system software support for our class system database. The funds for this expense are already included in the budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's good. Looks good, no questions.
Pleasure of the committee.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
Aye.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 10, Mr. Alvera.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the board. John Olvera, Assistant Deputy Executive Officer for Administrative and Human Resources. Item 10 relates to 2 job classifications. First, we're proposing to revise the job classification for our career development intern position. This position is part of our program that involves providing young adults who have transitioned from the foster care system with on-the-job training and experience. Having completed our 3rd year, there are a couple of changes that we're recommending to enhance the program. The first is to extend the time limit on the internships from 1 year to 2, and the second is to expand the eligibility for the program to those adults who are participating in vocational support programs with nonprofit organizations. We believe these revisions will make the candidate pool stronger for the intern program, as well as give the district the flexibility to work with these interns to best prepare them for full employment either here or with another employer. There are 2 positions in this year's budget for career development interns, so this item has no financial impact as to that request. The second part of the agenda item is to add a job classification for a source testing manager position. This is a position that was previously part of the district's workforce, but it was deleted in 2009 for budgetary reasons. However, with new rule work to do and new programs to implement, this position is needed to manage and to lead the group of staff involved in various source testing programs. Funding for this position was included in this year's budget. However, the adoption of the classification will allow us to start the promotional recruitment process. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to say, I really appreciate what you've done with this program. I think it is a meaningful human endeavor. And I used to challenge Ali when we were traveling around the country, and he made me carry all those tracts that were really heavy, man. It said, why are we doing this? Why are we carrying all this stuff all over the world? He said, this is the price we pay to get into heaven. This program is one of those kind of things to me. So you say that there's no, changing it from 1 year to 2 years has no economic impact, right?
Right.
So if we made it 3 years, it's okay, right?
3 years would also work. It would increase our flexibility.
Okay,
as well.
I would love to do it. I would love to do it for 3 years, and then whoever's sitting in my seat after I leave can deal with it. Okay.
Okay.
So I'd like. Can you modify that in your report so that we can approve that as the since it has no economic impact.
Yes.
Okay.
I was a little bit, Spelver.
Yes.
You state this is for 2 interns, but you didn't, what is the maximum number of interns that this program can accommodate in our budget?
The maximum number is only pursuant to whatever we put into the budget each year. So in the past 3 years, we've put 2 positions in the budget each year, but that can certainly be expanded in the future.
What I've asked Mr. Alatorre to do is there is a nonprofit organization which deals with these children, and I've asked him to go out and see if he can't encourage more young people to be involved. So I just think, I know this was Mike Antonovich's idea, but it was one of Mike's better ideas. I'll tell you that. It really is a fine program. So if there's no more comment, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. Would the clerk call the roll?
What's the motion? To approve the staff recommendation? Or 3 years?
I think we would need a motion to approve the staff recommendation with the additional year to make it 3 years.
To make it 3 years.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. I noticed an error on the resolution, though. And that is that the last paragraph,
Attachment C.
The date we put in for the board meeting is July 6th. It
Right.
should be September, so.
You caught that after we
You got it,
submitted
okay.
to you. I apologize.
As long as you know that.
As long as-
Yes,
Okay.
we caught it just too late.
We have a motion and a second to modify the current staff report to 3 years. Would the clerk call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alator.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Alator, you're back up. You just seem to be getting everything today. You know, you need to leave some for somebody next month.
I'll gladly. Well, next month there's no meeting, so.
Oh, yeah, right.
By himself.
Okay.
All right, the next item.
Item number 12.
Yes, sir, Dr. Burke and committee members. This item is to issue an RFP for our legislative representation in Washington. We currently have 3 consultants in Washington, D.C. Their contracts are up January 14, 2019. So this item is to start the RFP process so we can receive the proposals and move with a recommendation to hire the new consultants.
Any discussion by my colleagues?
Nope.
I knew this was coming up because I started getting calls from people I hadn't heard from in years and asking about my health and how my kid's doing and all that. So I knew this was on the horizon.
I'll move the item.
I'll second it.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
You know, this report that comes in every month that from Mr. Alatorre, that we never talk, not one word in the last 20 years that I know of, not one word, okay? What's the chance of we alleviating him of this burden?
For the local government report?
Yeah.
I'm looking at my legal counsel. Can we take this off the agenda?
Just send it straight to the board with the regular board packet?
Just send
Right.
it straight to the board.
Or does it
Yes.
to the board? Is it-
Yes.
Well, I like the information that's in there, you know, I do read it.
As a local government
There's a
report?
lot
Yeah,
of stuff on
it's not that I don't like
MSR
seeing
here.
Derek around. But Derek always comes, he says, you know, no motions required. And there's nothing, it's a written report. It doesn't make sense. Go on.
It's part of the ledge report to the board.
It's attached to the legislature. So we can just.
So it goes to the board as part of the ledge committee packet.
We can just,
We could just take it off of this and be part of that.
could you put it on
Right.
the Ledge Committee agenda?
Why don't I accept a motion to send
Admin committee. Sorry.
Mr. Alatorre's report directly to the board
With the Ledge Committee.
No, it's,
with ledge committee's approval?
I was mistaken. It goes to admin. It's part of the admin committee report.
Yes. If you take it off.
So it doesn't even go to the board?
Yes.
Well, it's part of the admin package to the board.
You know, those reports are, you know what?
Okay. Well, gives you a reason to get dressed on the second Friday of the month.
Let me just say one thing. When we get the board report, there's so much packed in there. And so this kind of segments it, at least for me, so that, you know, I can read this for this committee. I don't have to read it again for the board. There's so much to read for the board packet. And there's interesting stuff in here. The whole report here on new source review, that is like a big deal now. And so there's some things in there I find pretty interesting. And so just for me to digest all the information we have to digest, this is easier.
Did you see that blank look in Derek's face when you were talking? That meant he didn't know it was in there either. Okay? Okay. So we'll leave it on. We'll leave it on.
Right?
Okay. Okay, other business. Do we have any other business before the admin committee meeting? Hearing none. Public comment. Do we have any public comment in CC8?
No one jumping up, sir.
Seeing none. We have none here at the Lex Hotel, so I will adjourn much later than I thought the admin committee meeting.
I appreciate you waiting for me, sir.